Has anyone out here in the audience ever hosted a poetry reading or wanted to had an aspiration to curate a poetry reading?
Well,
yeah.
I started a poetry reading in 1984 in a coffee house in San Luis Obispo, and it's called Corners of the Mouth.
Was Rain Dog there?
No, he wasn't, but he's been there before.
Oh, okay.
And so I was going along, and John and Thomas, when they were alive, they read up there too. Lynn's read up there as part of the poetry festival a long time ago. Anyway, but I run a yearly festival as well. This November we're having our 29th annual San Luis Obispo Poetry Festival.
Oh, lovely.
And so the show I run is called Corners of the Mouth. And like I said, we've been at Linnaeus every third Sunday of the month since 1984. So we've been there a long time.
Yes.
And so all this stuff, when all these guys started coming on the scene in the 90s, I was ecstatic because I was able to start bringing poets from LA up here a lot because of your magazine and then politics and stuff, and then so I was able to start connecting a lot better with the Southern California poets.
Well, I do.
So yeah. So
I build on that all that touches on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
okay. Just that once poets got used to performing in coffee houses or whatever, the idea of going on the road started to sound more reasonable, and the poets did start traveling farther and farther and farther. I know the Karma Bumps, which Ellen participated in, were one of the first poets I ever knew of that would actually put 5 poets in the car and do a full-on tour. Nowadays, I know so many poets that do tours of some sort or another, that it's become much more established, and the connections have been built up that enable you to do it.
So yeah, what I was going to, my point being, because there are some people, as Lynn said, that will have their own, let's say, vibe happening. If you do have your own poetry reading, one of the first things and most important things is that you have to own that reading. You have to set rules. You have to be consistent in the enforcement of those rules. Because if you aren't, then you will get, the one person who will come up with this Bible and say, "I've got one home." And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, your audience will lose interest. And that is a disservice to your audience. It's also a disservice to the poets that come to your reading. Because a poet who abuses time limits takes away from the poets that follow it. And I've seen that happen very many times, even and as a matter of fact, I've been guilty a couple of times of doing it myself.
No.
So, gosh, yes. Yeah. I have no body here. I'm just a head and arms. I am just a head and arms.
You're a consummate professional. I can't believe that you were
Well, there was a reading series that became somewhat controversial because there was actually a timer that went ding after 5 minutes, and many people were caught right in the middle of a poem when that ding happened. One woman said to me, "I felt like they cut my throat." I do think personally that a poet does have a responsibility to time his or her work, and those are will fit into the time slot. That is the professional way to do it. And I do think there is, even though poets don't always get paid, that doesn't mean that you can't be a professional. And see, that's another thing though, that Next had many articles that explain to poets how to do things professionally, everything from how to consider a press release to how to perform. And even how to deal with, say, somebody critiquing you. Because poets often feel like, we don't have to do any of this. We're not like people in show business otherwise. We can just do anything we want, and we can just get up there and read. And yet it shows. It really shows that you have prepared And I still tell this to people, is there's no reason why you can't take your poem and look at the clock or set an egg timer or whatever and clock in your poem. Some people even write the time of each poem on top of the printed sheet of the poem. I've known people that scrupulous that they will do that. And that way, you know how, if you're told you have 10 minutes, you know just how many poems or say prose work you can fit into that 10 minutes, plus your little comments if you make them.
Yeah, that's the comments are always I know one guy, you tell him, you've got 20 minutes to read, and he'll talk for 20 minutes, and then he wants to read for 20 minutes too. Because, you know, he just introduced himself.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
And yeah, and even if you tell the poet 10 minutes, that's hog-headed. But being professional and putting a hard cap on time limits, I think, is a disservice to the poet as well, especially a newer poet who may not know anything about timing their poems. If you have a 5-minute time limit, the poet goes like maybe 6.5 minutes, allow that. Allow them their opportunity to express themselves. If it goes much longer than that, then yeah, you'll get your cue too, because your audience will start looking at you instead of the poet.
Right.
So, but in that case, you should have a way where you can visually cue that poet to ask them to cut it short.
Yeah, the Baroque thing. Huntington Beach. The family starts at the back of the room and slowly walks towards you. So when you hit your time limit, you're here and she's right there.
I use a scythe, actually.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Now this guy